there are children with high fragile medical needs that the parents don't see an out. They don't see 15 minutes.
Nope.
They're barely rubbing two pennies together just to make sure that there's food on the table on top of having a high needs child. And yet you want me to find time for me? Pam, you're crazy. And I say that and I acknowledge that. And let me be the first one for those parents that need someone to acknowledge that the struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
But even finding that 5 minutes to go outside and ground that doesn't take a financial impact or need can be so beneficial for you. Even if you're sitting on the floor with your kid and you need to take a deep breath, remember that 90 seconds of just breathing while you're seeing your child in front of you is still enough time to cause a physical shift in the body. Hi, friends and family, and welcome back to Pam and the Purple Couch podcast. Today, we're going to go deep diving on parents. And when was the last time we took a moment to take care of ourselves? We're constantly the caregivers. We are in the role of parents because we're here on a mission to help our children. But so many times, good parenting is tough. And we don't give ourselves that time to recoup, re-energize, power our batteries back up so that we can be the best version of ourselves for our kids. This is a deep one, man.
Yeah, well, I am the worst sinner of all of this, so I'm going to be more of like a learner here. But I think one of the things that I was reflecting in preparation for this is, what are we not talking about? So it's easy for me to say, well, I take time for myself every night when the kids go to bed. That's not what we're talking about here.
Nope.
Because that's a couple of hours at tops, and I'm probably vegging out, like getting on the couch and putting on the tube or whatever, and then going to bed. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about good quality self-time.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of not taking enough, for sure.
My sister and I have talked about this, and I don't know if this affects men as much as it does women, but even in the workplace, we're in mom mode, even when we're in our corporate career. And a good example of this is going to the bathroom. As women, we reward ourselves with taking a potty break. You're working an 8-hour shift, but we're like, oh, I can hold it. I got to get this one email out. Then the next thing you know, an hour goes by and it's like, oh my gosh, I still haven't gone to the bathroom. There's times where she and I have reflected and it's like, did you actually take a pause today? Did you actually get a bottle of water? Or are you dehydrated because you just worked and you kept working? And as parents, sometimes we are in that strive at work, but it doesn't stop once we get home, because you may put in the 8 to 4 at the job, 9 to 5, 7 to 11, depending on all these shifts. And then you come home and now you got the mom hat or dad hat, caregiver hat on. And now it's a whole different line of work responsibilities that are due. And a lot of times, we talked about this yesterday, just like, I just want to get home, take a shower. That's it.
Yep.
How many of the families listening to this episode that is their personal care time? Taking a shower, taking a bath.
Yep. It's a big deal.
I don't know about in your house, but in my house, from the time when Loke was little, even going to the bathroom, it seemed that even that private one-on-one time to go to the bathroom is when all of a sudden you get a knock at the door, or mom, or, oh, I need this. And it's like, I just want to pee or do the other, It's just like, okay, I need this time for me too.
Yeah.
And I think in this, again, hustle bustle of society today, it's almost like a connotation of you're a bad parent if you take a moment for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm in the work is a place of freedom. My home life is busy.
Yes.
And whether it's laundry or cleaning or lawn mowing or whatever. And God forbid something like the plumbing that goes out or,
Right.
you know, something major. But like even just the minor stuff, it just all builds. And
Yes.
then add in attention-seeking children or need fill their needs and stuff like that. And then your marriage. And so when I come to work, a lot of people see that I'm calm and I'm at the computer or I'm working with the staff or whatever. And it's not chaos for me. It's calm. Because all of my chaos is at home, my good chaos, right?
Yes.
My 5 little good chaoses. But there is like this sense of release that's my private time is at work, which is kind of a weird thing, but there you go. So, but I also tend to like, I'll find escapes doing other things, even if it is work, like
Right.
working after hours, you know. I don't see that as a problem for me because it's my time to self-reflect. It's my time to, you know, that I'm trying to work on my book again, my 3rd edition, but when do I have time to do that,
Right.
you know? So, well, I try to find the time, and it's work, but it's fun work for me.
Gotcha.
So it's a good release.
All right. So I'm hearing you. I'm not saying that I'm agreeing with you.
No, it's not
You
what I
know,
should be doing
correct.
for sure. Yeah.
I want to bring to the table that or to the couch, I should
The
say,
couch, yeah.
is that we talk to parents all the time that are in crisis because they're dealing with a child that's not developing according to the typical standard. And then on top of that, then we watch the marriage and the pressures.
Yeah.
And so many times in these last 12 years of running the school, the conversation is the same. And maybe it's because I tune in on the dads a little bit more, but it's when was the last time you all got a day out? When was the last time that you got to turn off mom or dad mode? And as we were preparing for this episode, I had this reflection of 20 years ago, being in the hospital, getting ready to have Loki. And you know how the nurse and you have the option of having the baby sleep with you when it's first born. And I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but in the United States is that the baby can either sleep in the room or the nurses keep the baby when you first have your child. And I was one of those moms. No, I waited so long. No, I want Loki in the room with me. Don't you take my baby away. And I was told, and reflection on this today really hits home, was that allow the nurses to take the baby for this last night because it'll be the last night that you ever sleep solid again. And, you know, you joke about that. We're even chuckling about it right
Yeah.
now. But it's the fact that they were 1,000% right because when you have a child, you now have to, at all times, until the day that I pass, or Lord, please, you know, don't allow Loki to pass before me, but that does sometimes happen, is that he'll always be with me. So when I go to sleep, it's not just thinking about Pam. It's okay. Did Loki, you know, how was his day? What can I do for him tomorrow? Is he going to be okay the next day? You're always thinking about that processing. You know, we talked about overthinking. But as parents, there is no turn off parent. Once you're a mom or a dad or a caregiver, you're always the caregiver.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I really want to stress home to this that it's not always the biological parent that's the parent. With the pros and the cons of this position and the job and what we do, we see sometimes adoptive parents, aunts and uncles, grandmothers and grandfathers that are taking the role of the parent with the child. And so when I say parent, it's the person that is nurturing and caring and supporting and watching the growth. And we need to ensure that in order to be the best version of themselves for that child, they have to have their battery full.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, it resonates with me. We're always parents. We're always caregivers, right? If we assume that role, we choose that role, we will never stop being that role. Where it becomes a problem to solve is when it becomes the only role you play.
Yes.
So you forget about your own sense of self. You forget about your needs. You forget about so it's easy. We see it all the time. I've done it myself where you socially isolate. You not necessarily on purpose, more so as an outcome
Yes.
of assuming this role full
Well,
time.
imagine not just the neurotypical.
No,
When you have a neurodivergent child, that isolation becomes part of reality.
right. And for whatever reason, there are caregivers that they get the same advice. So multiple caregivers will get the same advice. Some will take it, some will not, right? This will happen here too. Here, we're going to give you a bunch of advice and some will take it, some will not. I am one that has taken some and not taken some. And so, but it's kind of an interesting phenomenon, right? So the advice could be as simple as find a social group, find a group of like-minded parents, find an activity, a hobby, blah, 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 whatever. Some will do it, some will don't. My hobby was going kayaking we have a river here, Turkey Creek right here. And you can rent a kayak for 4 hours. And I used to do that all the time. And I would go by myself. And I would
When was the last time you
it
did
was
that?
a very long time ago. And I've been thinking about doing that again in the last recent weeks. But it was that was my thing, right? So I would do that. I'd go away for 6 hours straight. And that was my time. Going out to coffee with somebody that these are all like little things that mean a lot, that you walk away with a lot out of it.
Absolutely.
Going to the gym, going to a spa, doing something. But what's fascinating to me, because it's happened to me, is when you know the advice, but you don't take it. And why? And I don't have the greatest answers for that, but I was curious.
I love you to death. I'm saying this out of love.
Mm-hmm.
Manny's a good one on this one, guys. Okay. So I've watched over our relationship as friends how, just like hearing the kayaking, you and I, before working together, we were those coffee mates. Be like,
Yep.
oh, once a
Let's go
month, be
get
like,
coffee.
it's so nice to be able to talk to a colleague that we're in the same boat here. But then we take things that we used to do just for ourselves, and then we include our children in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then something that used to be just for us is now something we're engaging with our kids into it. And, we've talked about burnout and how that's really the effect of what's going on. That's not really, burnout isn't the problem. It is the things prior to the burnout. And a lot of those times come in to, what am I really doing just for me?
Right.
When we talk about charging the battery, I like to look at this in an analogy of an electric car. And so many people, we have electric cars in all different manufacturers now.
Mm.
One here in Brevard County specifically, we've got, SpaceX and Tesla here. And when my Tesla car is driving, when I push on the brake, it recharges the battery. And most people don't realize that. A lot of hybrid cars, that's how they recharge the batteries, by pushing on the brake. Well, when do we push on the brake? When do we recharge that battery? And then what exactly does pushing the brake look like? My advice to the parents that we talk, and to my staff as well, it's why we have the What's the Function Day, is taking just one day to take a bath, take a shower without the kids there. That's not enough. It's really not.
Nope.
And we fool ourselves. And that's even, I'm talking this directly to
yeah,
you.
no, I know.
Is because we're almost, just think about as if we're writing this BIP. It's a behavioral intervention plan. Is that, okay, well, giving them a Skittle is not going to take and completely remove the trigger.
Right.
And so taking that shower or bath might have given you a reset for the moment, but that battery is still drained.
Mm-hmm.
And so a true reset is conditioning. Think about going to the gym. Right now, after having the flu, going back to the gym, my lungs are not where they need to be.
Right.
And so picking up 12-pound weights, I was like, oh, what is this? I can't do this. Then I automatically, by having to lower the weight, felt like a failure. I was like, so why am I even at the gym? And I think that analogy we can put into given personal and self-care.
Oh, yeah.
Is that so many times we're like, oh, well, I gave myself some time. I spent 2 hours all by myself. Out of 7 days?
Mm-hmm.
You spent 2 hours by yourself? Really? So what I would say is that's like boiling pot of water. If the pot's boiling and it's a rapid boil and we take it off the burner, that water is still hot. It may not be bubbling, but the water is still hot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way when we look at taking care of ourselves.
Yep.
All right, families, we'll be right back after this special message. Are you looking for an alternative to public school? Puzzlebox Academy is your home, where every child is looked at as an individual. Come to Puzzlebox Academy, take your tour today, and you will see the difference. Puzzlebox Academy at www.puzzleboxacademy.com. And now, back to the Purple Couch Podcast.
Our world is in crisis. We look at the news, we see bombs here, political satire here,
Mm-hmm.
exploitation of children everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it can take its toll on us just on the daily.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we doing with cause, with intention to say, okay, enough? I loved how you were saying find a group, find a social group that you may be able to engage in. But now I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What if we don't have finances to do that? You know, what if our society, when we're talking about the expense of groceries, see, we can always find these excuses.
Oh, yeah.
But what I want to bring to people's attention is that there is a daily practice that costs absolutely nothing. When you get up in the morning, take your shoes and socks off, and go outside and just stand in the ground and start taking some breath work. Take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. Do that for 90 seconds. And I'm not saying come up with any intentions. I'm just taking that pause. But don't just do it one day. You have to set up this pattern of behavior, something so small just for yourselves. And then when I think about couples, and I think about those parents, or even us, we work and we find reprieve in working some more.
Working some more.
You know, our spouses can feel that separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you start something, this dedicated time, think about just for a moment with me. Taking 3 minutes outside, holding your spouse's hand while you do those breaths, while you're grounding. I had a couple and they were in some financial turmoil, couldn't afford to go see a therapist, and they had asked if I would help. And they had children back to back. So she had 2 children, less than a year apart from each other, postpartum really bad, and her husband hadn't been intimate in 2 years. They couldn't even stand to look at each other. The pause. So one of the things we worked on with just them together was just looking at each other. And we started with 30 seconds. Then we started with 1 minute. And then 1 minute was too much. They couldn't even do it. Can you imagine not being able to spend 1 minute in silence looking at your spouse? That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed a distraction. So we made them come up with their song. And so the husband on one night would play a song and they just had to look each other while the song played. The next night, the wife did the song. Now, all I can tell you is that within that month, they had become intimate again. And a lot of it was making fun of Pam. I'm just going to be real with you. When I ended up talking to the husband, I asked him, I was like, okay, so what happened with you and, I almost said her name. And he was like, well, Pam, I got to be honest with you. We were making fun of you. And I was like, okay, if that worked, I'm okay with that. But the reality is that they were able to find humor and laughing at picking a song because they couldn't sit. I mean, and they were willing to give it up.
Mm.
You know, and when she told me, she's a friend of mine, she was like, Pam, I can't do this. I start looking at his nose hairs. I start looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Do you realize, imagine our children that can't take that moment to pause.
Oh, yeah.
So the next thing they started to do was make fun of the songs. Songs that were supposed to first be like, oh, what is it? Sail Away With Me. I'm thinking 80s, 90s love songs. No, they came like, Becky, her butt's so big, and then trying to smile. But you see how we laugh.
Yep.
Music is frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And by having some type of outside distraction that you're bonded in together, you don't have to go out. It's intimate time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think when we look at our children and we reflect, especially, Manny, we've been blessed to see all types of demographics, from children on Medicaid to, very affluent families, neurosciences, what we got rocket sciences. Yeah, we get to see the whole gambit. And I have seen children that don't have two pennies to rub together with the best relationship with their parents and still finding that bonding time versus parents that send their kids to Disney every weekend but don't go with them. And so it's really not about the quantity versus the quality.
Right.
And so when we talk about this personal time and being able to be the best version of ourselves, we've got to refill that battery.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that doesn't come with a price tag. It just comes with intention and isolated time. Now, we're in a society that everything is time management. Go, 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 go. How many things can you juggle? And it's a key performance indicator on how, you must be really successful because you can juggle so many different things at once. Okay. How many of those people are going to have a stroke before they're 60? Or are on medication for high blood pressure? We talked a little bit about, the brain and that when we're in that high crisis, that high crunch time, we're not producing to our highest ability.
Right.
Same way with our relationships, same way with our self-care is that when we do not take that pause for ourselves, I can reflect on this podcast. I just got finished with the flu this morning. And again, I'm going to share this, and this is that mirror reflection. I think where we're getting ready to go on this is I had to call my COO at 7:00 this morning, knowing that the crew was going to be here for production. And I was like, I'm holding the toilet right now. And she's like, what? And I was like, look, I'm just letting you know, all of this mucus and everything decided this morning at 7:00 it was going to come out. And I'm like, I don't get sick. And she was like, okay, all right. And I literally was almost in tears. And here I am. I'm the CEO. If anybody could have some grace, but I had to take a moment for my own self to go, ooh, Pam, take a moment to pause. But we don't do that. And it's a day in, day out, pressure, 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 pressure. And then what do we do when our kid needs us the most? Our gas tank's empty.
Yep. That's when we snap.
Bingo.
That's when we lose our control. Yep.
And that doesn't just happen with our kids.
No. Can
this
happen
is
with our spouse.
with relationships, period. It could be your coworker.
Yep.
It could be your best friend, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, anyone that we engage in. Road rage. Let's think about that. Maybe that's the only time that person has control. And if you take that control away, they lose it.
Right.
What's that movie? Oh, again, here we go. 80s, 90s movies. Michael Keaton. No, Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Where he just lost it. He was in the car and it was the road. You know what I mean?
With the shaved head and the glasses. I forget the name of the movie, but
that is such a real thing that we have to deal with on the daily when we think about, okay, is our gas tank full? Because you never know what crisis you may walk into. And if you're not prepared, you're not going to be able to be the best version of yourself in that moment.
And every parent can relate to, nobody wants to be the parent that loses control over their kid. Because on their kid, at their kid. Because you don't feel great after that.
No.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. So.
No, so Manny.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what do we think we can do? What are some tips and tricks that we can give to our families? For me, the outside grounding, and that's what you're doing, guys, when you're barefoot and you're standing outside, and whether you're just holding someone's hand, taking a deep breath. And if you don't have someone's hand to hold, okay, Pam's going to say it, hug a tree. Yes, I am. So again, we talk about neuroscience and biology. Trees actually give energy back. Not just do they take it, but they actually recycle that energy. And sometimes that's all we need. Just a little bit of grounding. I mean, do you remember what it feels like to have the dirt between your toes?
I do, but not in the way that you're describing. But I play in the dirt with my kids all the time. So yeah, I know how it feels, but not from like a just kind of taking it in. You know what I mean?
And if you're the parent, like Manny, who is a go and has 5 kids, and it's like, Pam, where am I supposed to find this time? You know, we're not in a society nowadays where we have people staying at home. Both mom and dad have to work. And then you add 5 children to it. So this isn't something, and then you add finances to it.
Yeah.
Make this something that you can show your children that you're taking this time and effort. Doesn't have to have a financial impact, but you're reflecting that as a learned pattern of behavior for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So my takeaway, or, you know, my advice, I guess, is one that I have to do myself. So whether you are a single parent or not, whether you have a spouse or not, is to not try to solve this by yourself. So I'm basically giving myself advice, right?
I love this, but this is great.
You know, in my world, I have to engage with my spouse and say, hey, I need time to myself. And if for whatever reason that's not an option, I have family. And if that's not an option, I have neighbors. And if that's not an option, I have, you know what, care.com. You know, I'm going to find a nanny or something. I have the luxury of accruing PTO. Maybe I have to put in some time just to take some time for myself. Maybe that's an option. Whatever it is, there's always a solution, but you have to reach out to people to make that solution a reality.
Advocate for yourself.
That's it. And I think, you know, it wouldn't be a hard conversation for me anyway, on my side, to talk to the various people and say, okay, can we make this happen so I can have that time to myself, and not just that 1% in a week.
Exactly.
You know, but actual time throughout the week for me to be able to do that. So that's my advice to everybody, is to look at your circles, look around you for your resources that are available to you so that you can take that time, and that enough time so that it actually does feel like a recharge.
And I'm going to pause just for one moment here, because while you're saying that, I could hear a viewer in my head. I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
I don't have any family. I'm doing the best I can to be with my kid and to be the best parent. Where am I supposed to find this time? I'm a single mom. I don't have a circle. I was there, guys. I moved from 𝘬𝘗𝘁𝘐, Virginia to Florida, and left all of our friends and family and had a neurodivergent son. And so I feel that. So why Loki and I have that bond that we have is because he was around me all the time. So taking that pause in that moment was sometimes taking the pause in the moment with him, but showing him this was mommy's time. You know, there would be times that he would be playing in the little bouncer and I would be taking my bath. But it was still of an understanding that this is mom's time, you know, or the knock on the door in the bathroom. And, you know, remember, guys, if you haven't already read the book, I was that bathroom crier, like many moms. We shut the door and isolate. He knew I was crying in the bathroom. And as he got older, he would express, and he was like, oh, do you need to go to the bathroom? We made a joke about it because, you know, but it was true. But he also knew that that was mom's time. And when I came out of the bathroom, I was recycled and ready to fake, a lot of times, the best version of myself that I could be. But I want to acknowledge those parents. I want to acknowledge that sometimes what you hear and what you're dealing with in your home and your situation, you may think Manny and I's tips and tricks are yeah, sure, I'm not living your life. You know, and we joke about that. But I really want to say that because, you know, there are children with high fragile medical needs that the parents don't see an out. They don't see 15 minutes.
Nope.
They're barely rubbing 2 pennies together just to make sure that there's food on the table on top of having a high needs child. And yet you want me to find time for me? Pam, you're crazy. And I say that and I acknowledge that. And let me be the first one for those parents that need someone to acknowledge that the struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
But even finding that 5 minutes to go outside and ground that doesn't take a financial impact or need can be so beneficial for you. Even if you're sitting on the floor with your kid and you need to take a deep breath, remember that 90 seconds of just breathing while you're seeing your child in front of you is still enough time to cause a physical shift in the body. So my heart, my gratitude, and my love goes out to all of our families that are listening today. And the shift that I hope for you and that I send your way is the moment of pause so that you can find a little bit of you time so that you can be the best version of yourself to your kids and your surroundings. That's my tip and trick today. And I know this has been more of a solace, episode, but it's because we need to just tell our parents, we're there for you.
Yep.
Thick, thin, sickness, whether you throw in the dish in and you're like, I'm done, I can't do it anymore. Well, we're here to tell you you can. You've got some more in you. And we're just sending our energy from our couch to yours. So parents, until next time, we'll see you soon.